everyone. Welcome to AGC Church, Faith Community, Women's Ministry. Today we are continuing the series on teenagers and with drug and substance abuse. This is our second episode or part 2 of the series. Last time we covered on what causes or what leads the teenagers to abuse drugs and substances. And as we continue still, I'll refer to the reading in the Bible, Psalm 119 from verse 9 to verse 16. And it talks about how can a young man, the youth, keep his way clean. And that one we can always keep on reading as we continue with our series. So the last part we covered about what causes, and we covered quite a number of things, but there are more than that. So we cannot limit ourselves to just what we covered. In case a parent or any interested party will want to know more, we can always have discussions, or you can always raise questions. You can always call, and then we discover. So my name is Violet Basar, and so today we are covering part 2 of the series, Teenagers and Drugs and Substance Abuse, and what are the signs and symptoms. And before I say anything about the signs and symptoms, we have some research which has been done all over the world. And I know Kenya, we are part of the research also. We have the consequences of the drugs and substance abuse. And these consequences may run from the teenage into adolescence and into adulthood. But what is mainly common with still the teenagers, I would say there are about 6 of them. One is motor vehicle accidents, especially the ones who are blessed and are able to drive. Most of them end up with, causing accidents. And then second thing is risky sexual behaviors, because most of the times they have lost their consciousness of what they are doing, and so they want to experiment, and in the event of experimenting, they go overboard to do things that are not right. The third consequence is increased suicidal cases or suicidal tendency, because as the brain becomes compromised, you find that they want to satisfy or to quench the thirst, the urge for the drugs, and because of unavailability, or because somebody has discovered them and they will want to shy away, or because they realize it's wrong. Most of the times it's like, why am I doing this? What has pushed me to do all this? So most of them tend to have the suicidal tendencies, and these are many cases, especially currently we are handling quite a number of suicidal cases. Then we have homicides, and then the fifth one is mental health problems. Some actually end up having psychiatric issues, and they may end up being on care, or they might end up actually snapping, and the remaining part of their lives they'll have mental issues. And the last consequences is high rate of school dropouts, because they will not find the need of being in school. They don't see any future with them. They always live in the present, so long as they have the substance which is controlling their lives. So now let's go to the signs and symptoms. And sometimes we'll call them the warning signs for any parent, any guardian, or any sibling the neighborhood, the community, what do we see in our young people, the teenagers, that will alert us that something is not right? Now, there's a way, I have only covered a few of the signs and symptoms, but there are many, depending also on the exposure or where the person is. So the first one, it will be changes in behavior and mannerisms. What happens is, first and foremost, you find this teenager will start having many friends. You will find he will want to keep friends, but he will not want the family to know more about the friends. If it's a gated home, most of the times the talking will be at the gate or over the fence. And the excuse of, I'm just getting out shortly, I'll come back. It will start gradually, and then with time, it becomes a norm for them if there are no controls, or a parent or a guardian does not read that as a red flag, something is happening. Then second one is withdraw from the usual family activities. Many families, we have activities, birthdays, celebrations, we may have a get together, and sometimes just having meals out. So you'll find that most of the times, this teenager will start withdrawing, will not be easy to tell, like, tomorrow we'll be going to a hotel, we are going for a retreat as a family. You'll find he or she will say, I would rather stay at home. And in the process, most of the times, they become uncommunicative. He or she will want to keep off, to keep quiet. They talk less. And what will happen also, they will want to stay away from the rest of the family members. And this, like, staying in the bedrooms. And this is the most common thing that happens, especially addressing now in our Kenyan community. You find most of them, if they have their own personal bedrooms, they want to stay behind the locked doors. And if it's a shared bedroom, most of the times they would prefer getting out of the bedroom ahead of everybody. When everybody's out, they come back and they'll want to lock themselves in. And another thing also about the same behavior, skipping of meals. There will always be an excuse of, I'm not hungry, let me eat later. And then with that, you find that when the parents or the guardian, the people who are older, becoming more inquisitive, you find that they will shut down, they will not want to be talked to most of the times. And then another thing is the violation of agreed upon time, or what we call curfews. I think we have had curfews throughout our lives. Every family has the time for the children to be home. So you'll find if curfew time is 6 p.m., this young person or this teenager will always want to come after 7, because most of the events, they prefer doing them when the sun has gone down. So this is one thing that we have to, as parents, as the community, as a church, we need to be alert and keep an eye on our teenagers. Whether it's your own child or a neighbor's child, it's a collective responsibility. Another thing is slurred speech. You'll notice somebody who's been speaking fluent, any of the languages, whether it's English, Kiswahili, mother tongue, you realize that they take too long to pronounce a word. And sometimes they have the mental blocks. So before he finishes a sentence, he will wrap or she will wrap her head and say, what was I saying? So they try to remember. But by the time they try to remember, they are conscious. So it makes them feel bad. And in the process, that's how sometimes they become uncommunicative. Then this is a good red flag for parents also, because if I've been speaking quite well, then suddenly I develop a slurred speech, it's a red flag for anybody to start questioning what is happening. How come nowadays you are not speaking the way you used to speak? Then another thing is which is very common, which we have to be very, very careful as parents, and also in the healthcare providers, is deterioration of school grades and skipping of classes. And this is the most common thing, especially in schools, because this one will be identified in schools, or for the ones who are boarders and they have the medical section where there's somebody who takes care of them, or there's a hospital they go to, there will always be a complaint of this student does not come to class every time. He's sick, he wants to stay in the dormitory, or she wants to stay in the dormitory. And with that also, the grades will start going down. So that is an alert for the parents in schools, and also when they come to the whole hospital facilities, and their complaints about them not going to class. Today is a headache, tomorrow is diarrhea, the next day is something else. It's an alert, and most of the times you find there's nothing wrong with this teenager. So the next point, you'll have lack of motivation. The way we are created, we are always motivated to do something, either for ourselves, or there's something we are always passionate about doing. So you'll find that if this boy or girl loved cooking, suddenly you find that it becomes a big task. They will not want to do the things they used to be motivated to do. They will have poor morale, and the productivity goes down. And then with that, as you try to inquire what has happened, you've been so good in doing this. Like in sports, you find one who has been a very good swimmer suddenly does not want to go for coaching, does not want to go for practices. And then when you try to ask, they become agitated, they become aggressive, and then what I would just call behavior, difficult in handling their temperaments. Because today they are this, tomorrow they are this, and with that, the aggressiveness becomes too much. And because they are conscious of what is happening to them, they show a lot of apathy when you look at them and when they are presenting themselves to the family or in the schools. Then another thing which is very common with the teenagers also, who have been just living a good life, straightforwardness, you may start finding as a parent or as a guardian, you put your change somewhere, you are used to putting money in the kitchen, putting money in the bedroom, then you find that your money starts disappearing. When it was 50 bob, you'll find 10 bob missing, 5 bob missing. Next time it will be 100 shillings. The next time, when you have 5,000 shillings, you come, one note has been pulled out. That one will tell that there's something happening, because they have to purchase these substances to use. Another point, which is, I think most of us will see it as a community, even in church. It doesn't have to be just parents at home. It is neglect of personal hygiene. Most of them will start, let me not be misquoted, but because I know now sometimes it's like the hairstyle. You find somebody who has been keeping their hair neatly combed, well, they go to the barbers, it's well done. You find they start keeping their hair rough, and either they don't wash it, they wake up, they take some water, just rough it up, and then they get out with it like that. And then dressing also will change. Somebody who has been putting on, well, tucking in his shirt and maybe belting up the trouser, suddenly Okay, it's trending. It says fashion. Letting the trousers loose. Suddenly, you find this person starts changing. You may say, okay, it is the puberty time, the changes, but most of the times, if you're not careful, that is one of the signs that something is not right, especially with the hair, and also brushing of the teeth, and just dressing up with anything that they get. So another one is changing in personality. That's why they tell a lot of lies. They will always have something to cover up for what they are doing. They become very manipulative and secretive. When they want to get something out of a parent, or even in school, when they want to sneak out, they can always use any excuse to tell the teacher that they want to go to have this, or my parent called. Or when they're at home, they will want to go to pick a book from a neighbor's child, but in the process, they will be going to do their own things. So, parents, we need to be very careful when our children become manipulative, because we have to understand this child has been straight, then suddenly they want to sweet talk you to get what they want, and being so secretive with the things they do. Then, the other point also, quitting of school. Some may just run away from school, and then you take them back to school, they run away again. The next thing you're told, me, I don't like that school. I want to go to this other school. So in the process, you find that if you don't take keen interest in this child, you may discover when it's too late that this child has been abusing drugs. And then you find they're depressed, then they are so aggressive, so irritated, and then most of the times they become alienated and disinterested in the environment and the family and most of the activities. So with all this, what we look out for most of the times, and anybody, whether it's home, parents, guardians, in the church, in the community, there are some signs which are so obvious. And first signs is bloodshot eyes. You see the eyes are very red. And when you ask, you'll always have an excuse. I have a flu, or something has gone, or I bathed and soap went into my eyes. But then it will continue like that. It will not be for one day. Then another one, which mainly the medics were the ones who can notice that, is widely dilated pupils. When they look at you, you just see the pupil so wide. So you just know there's something that is not right. Or if not, pinpoint pupils. That's the center of the eye. Then another one is unexplained sudden weight loss or sudden weight gain, depending on what they are abusing. Then skin changes, which you have to be parents. Let's be very keen to always have a look at our children, not to go scanning them, but you see, as we walk, as we talk, as we chat, as we eat, look around your child, look at the hands, the skin. Because when they are abusing the drugs that they use, the syringes and needles, you will have pricks around, especially the arms. So you may notice that your son or your daughter suddenly wants to put on long-sleeved garments, and like before, when they will put on even sleeveless tops. Then another thing which we have to notice, this is drowsiness and fatigue. They will always look drowsy and they are always tired. When you say, okay, Peter, come and do this. Oh, mom, I'm just too tired. I feel too tired. And they always pronounce it so that they don't want anybody to bother them around. So they want to keep to themselves. So all these are signs, but also within the signs and symptoms, we have to keep abreast. We have to always to be closer to our children or to our teenagers within the environment that they live. That is especially their bedrooms, the study rooms, even if they are commonly being used by others, but it's good for us to keep an eye. And most of the things or paraphernalias that you'll get with most of these youths, you'll find tin foils. Now, especially for a boy, what will he be doing the tin foil in his bedroom? And even the girls, because the foils should be in the kitchen. So you'll find them with them. Then weight scales, they are those small ones. Smoking pipes. Then you have the butane torches, whereby they use as lighters. Then Ziploc bags, they're those bags, the small bags which they just lock by themselves. Then you get some things like square folded papers or envelopes in bundles, because especially when it comes to bangi, there's a way they roll them. Then cigarette lighters, small porcelain balls. We have the hospital, that's hypodermic needles, syringes. Then you get mirrors, because the ones who are injecting themselves and he's alone, he will need a mirror to see what he's doing, because sometimes he doesn't want to look at it directly. Then we have short straws. If you find a child with straws in the bedroom, that is a red flag. What is that straw doing? And then it will be cut into half. What will he be using? Because they are actually used for sniffing. But we can talk more about this when we have, I think, a time, so that we can address what they do with most of these things that I'm enumerating for you. Then we have glass pipes. You may have capsules, or the capsule, empty capsules, the holders, but nothing inside. And then also we may have vials, because there's some drugs also, they will just they buy over the counter and then they inject themselves. So these are some of the things, besides the normal signs and symptoms of their behavior and character. You may find them with these things in their rooms, in their study rooms or bedrooms, or when they go to friends' homes. You may find them, especially the ones who don't have parents, they stay on their own. You may go and just find them with all these things around them. That is a red flag. Something is happening to your child or to your neighbor's child. So I think today we just mainly concentrated on the signs and symptoms, and any of these may not necessarily mean the child is doing this also. We have to realize that this is a teenager. There's a changing phase in their milestones. So we have also to be keen to differentiate between the adolescence crisis and also the drug and substance abuse. But we have to be always keen and be interested in what is it. If it's the adolescence thing, or he's going through a crisis, she's going through a crisis, what if, let me check in her bag, let me check in her bedroom when she's gone away, let me ask from school what is happening with her, or when there are reports coming from school frequently, then take an interest. Is it just the crisis, or my child is abusing substance and drugs at this time? So I think today, this is our second episode. We have the part 3, which we'll cover next time, on what to do when we discover, or before we discover, that our son or our daughter is using the drugs and substances. How do we handle it? Or who is the person who can help us better in this? So thank you so much for listening to me. God bless you. God bless us all. And let's keep watch over these gifts that God has given unto us as children. Thank you so much.